Welcome back to What She Says Sports. I hope everybody's having a good day. All right. So, class is in session, and we're getting ready to talk about not just the Cleveland Browns, but we're gonna zero in today about head coach Kevin Stefanski. Now we know the Browns, some describe as an embarrassment to the league. Um, I guess you could say in unstable franchise, going all the way back to the beginning, a losing franchise, going all the way back to the beginning, right? But the Browns are in a place to be highly successful. Uh Shedeur Sanders, they wanted franchise QB, pivoted to Dylan Gabriel, but still ended up with the franchise QB. But the organization is describing him as a value pick. Like if you just were at the Dollar Tree and something was 50 cents instead of a dollar, it's just a value pick. I have no plans for it. It's just too good to pass up. That's what they're reducing Shedeur Sanders to. And while those words may come from the media, which is fed to them by the Browns, you know, Kevin Stefanski's behavior, his coaching record being sub 500, and I guess you could say his prejudice, towards Shedeur Sanders is obvious, is notable. Everybody sees it. It's questionable. It makes you wonder, one, why he's still the head coach, knowing he has a sub 500 record. He's had at least 10 or 12 quarterbacks since he's been there. Baker Mayfield, who asked to leave, who had good advice for Shedeur Sanders of all days today, right? People are calling it out in Cleveland. Why did you draft him? That's for Andrew Berry. Kevin Stefanski's question should be, why are you holding him back? Right? So yes, there's questions for Berry, but there are also questions for Stefanski. So I looked into his record. It's sub 500, right? He's underperforming as a coach, but oddly enough, he's won two awards for like coach of the year. And I'm like, I can't imagine why. So the 2023 season that we took a look at, where he rotated 5 quarterbacks during the regular season, and if you throw in Mondo or Mond in preseason, 6 quarterbacks played for the Browns. People say the preseason doesn't count. Well, it actually does. That's where you get your practice in. The game coming up is supposed to be a dress rehearsal. It's your starters. So it does count, right? That's just a way of discounting or devaluing a player by saying you're not important. The preseason doesn't count. It definitely counts. And the way that Kevin Stefanski handled the interview after Shedeur balled out despite the obstacles put in his way by Kevin Stefanski, not giving enough reps, saying you have to earn the reps, as if Shedeur didn't earn the reps. Shedeur said he gets his reps in the game, so he has to self-develop, right? So the question for Stefanski is, why are you holding Shedeur back? There's been no reports of underperforming from Shedeur that you would withhold reps. But his excuse is reps are earned. But he hadn't said Shedeur did something to not earn them, right? It just seems he has a preference, right, at quarterback. And this week he's talking about, that position is, really elite and we have high standards. Like Shedeur doesn't meet the standards. And we don't know what the standards are. So very subjective. Also going back to the draft, saying Shedeur is entitled, like he's asking for something. But instead of calling him entitled, Kevin Stefanski is like, he hasn't earned it. So it is calling him entitled, right? To say that he hasn't earned the elite status to be the quarterback, which is why he refers to Shedeur as a thrower. He doesn't refer to him as a quarterback. He refers to him as a thrower. And I pointed out how complimentary the Panthers coach was. I mean, the Panthers coach was complimentary, but it was normal. It was expected, right? What are reporters there for? To ask questions. What is your job as a head coach when you're meeting with the media? To be forthcoming and transparent. And if they ask you about questions of accountability, you should answer them. Well, Kevin Stefanski is being criticized unjustly, right? Rightfully so, for being vague, for his vagueness in his answers, regardless of what he's talking about. But when it comes to Shedeur, even after a moment that this young man overcame everything he threw at him, not a surprise he didn't have much to say. So we're going to listen to Stefanski's press conference after the game, and then we're going to compare it to the head coach of the Panthers press conference right after the game. And you're going to notice a remarkable difference. Now, reading that Kevin Stefanski is praised because he has a personable CEO style of coaching. As an executive, I don't see it. Executives are praised for being decision makers. They have 6 quarterbacks. Executives are expected to be clear and concise when communicating. He is not. I don't think he won Coach of the Year awards because of his coaching. I think it's his willingness to be a servant leader, and whatever the hell that means. Take it how you want. But when you call yourself that, and you're obviously discriminating and unfairly treating your Black franchise QB, something you've never had in the first round, and this kid is a first round projected pick, it raises eyebrows, right? Same thing with Huntley. So we're going to take a listen to these interviews, but there is no CEO style of coaching. There is no decision-making ability. There is indecision. 6 quarterbacks this season, and in 2023, 5 played, rotated 5, and then you had 12 since you got there, and you ran off Baker Mayfield. Now you're trying to run off Shedeur Sanders. Deshaun Watson and all your quarterbacks stay hurt. Where's the leadership there? I mean, maybe you need to fire your head of strength and conditioning, but, you know, as an executive, you should be expecting that your quarterbacks are not hurt. And then when we go through links, risking our job and public ridicule and criticism and accountability to uphold a player that was a waste of a 3rd round pick, which seemed now in hindsight more of a favor to a friend, when said player doesn't even have the same value they were drafted at. Their value is currently a favor to a friend, turning that person into a teacher's pet when they've proven a failure. A 54 PFF grade is a failure. They can only succeed when standing still. They have to have a simulated environment. You have to ask the other team to hold back their best and brightest, so this person can look better than the player you trying to run off. I don't believe those coaching awards were for his leadership style, his winning because it's below 500, or his decision-making ability because he's had 12 quarterbacks. Again, it seems to have something to do with his servant leadership. All right, so let's take a look. We're going to take a listen. And y'all know we listen to things more than once because you pick it up. We're going to listen to Canales, the head coach of the Carolina Panthers. This is following, for context, this is following the Panthers game. Let's take a listen.
For penalties, so I think we were even in terms of numbers of penalties, but it was when they happened that really just put us in a bad spot early on. And then, I thought they did a great job just getting on the edge, Shedeur extending plays, finding guys down the field. And then even Huntley comes in, and makes a couple of plays with his legs. They were able to continue some drives. I thought they did a great job. I was proud of our group. Played physical. Some great running and hitting happened all across. So really proud of the play style. But, part of our play style is playing smart. I didn't feel like we did that. I felt like there was sloppiness, in some of the drives. And we're looking at 1st and 15.
So he was talking about his team. Now he's asked about Shedeur.
I feel great about the conditioning level of the group, but it's really more about just the all the mechanics, of just coming out of a huddle, different situations that may come up.
Given how many young quarterbacks you've worked with,
yeah.
What were your observations of Shedeur at practice and during the game today?
Very impressed. Extending plays when he had to, getting the ball out of his hand quickly. I thought he did a great job of not sitting there in the pocket to see what was going to happen. He either took off and extended and made some plays with his legs, or he got the ball out quickly to a check down. And so I was just really impressed with just the way that he operated out there and really, kept himself pretty clean for the most part.
Dave, every team in this league that is either has a quarterback or is looking for one, you guys were sort of going through that.
Okay, so clear, concise, individual feedback, right? That's very important. Encouragement, said what was positive, right? Didn't have to be negative. There was a lot there. Said for the most part, meaning it wasn't perfect, but for the most part, right? So you provided clear, concise feedback that Shedeur can move forward with, right? You praised the things that he did well. And in this setting, you said for the most part, because you can take the negative on a one-on-one be facing with Shedeur Sanders on what he can improve. That's what a leader does. That's what a leader does. A leader does not evade. A leader does not thrive in vagueness just to avoid the truth or accountability or encouragement. What's wrong with giving encouragement? That's what you're supposed to do. Now, this is the opposing team's coach. Let's take a listen to Kevin Stefanski when he's talking about Shedeur.
Yeah, pleased with Shedeur, pleased with the offense. Again, not perfect, plenty that we can work on, but I thought the guys did a really nice job of Shedeur and operating, the guys making plays. So, again, a ton to teach off of.
So, okay, Shedeur, the guys, not perfect, a ton to teach off. Where's the individual feedback for Shedeur? Operating, what the hell are you talking about, right? This guy, if you look at all of the answers that he gives to questions, and especially pertaining to Shedeur, he's not going to answer it. He's just not going to answer it, right? Luckily, he said Shedeur's name. I mean, that's a nice touch, right? But as you can tell, trying to hurry, get through it, operating, plenty of the teach, just, ready to get to the negative, ready to lump him in with everybody else, refuses to take the time to engage in positive feedback for Shedeur, something he can go on. If Shedeur is listening to this, what is it that I can take and move forward with? Operating. What exactly are you talking about? We're going to listen to Canales again after this because it's like night and day. Canales left feedback for Shedeur to move forward on. He said what he liked. He can talk to him about the positive. He wasn't rushing and he didn't lump him in with anybody else. There's actually an earlier part of that interview without even being asked. He had praise for Shedeur and Huntley using his legs, this, that, and the other, things that they can go on. This person is not coach of the year twice because he's a good coach. He definitely does not have a CEO style of coaching. It's because there's something about him being a servant leader. That's why he's coach of the year, because they want more of that in the NFL. Coaches that are willing to hold back the best and the brightest franchise QB players because the team has never drafted one in the first round that's black, and they don't want to win with a black franchise QB. They'd rather wait until a white franchise QB is available in the first round. That's why he's coach of the year twice. Subpar record, not concise at all. Vagueness is where he thrives. And holding people back seems to be his strength that too many appreciate, his prejudice. So we're going to listen to Canales again, and you're going to notice a stark difference. And again, this is the opposing team.
In terms of numbers of penalties, but it was when they happened that really just put us in a bad spot early on. And then, I thought they did a great job just getting on the edge, Shedeur extending plays, finding guys down the field. And then even Huntley comes in, and makes a couple of plays with his legs. They were able to continue some drives. I thought they did a great job. I was proud of our group. Played physical. Some great running and hitting happened all across. So really proud of the play style. But, part of our play style is playing smart. I didn't feel like we did that. I felt like there was sloppiness, in some of the drives. And we're looking at
now.
These,
Notice
but it was when
he spoke about Shedeur and Huntley, gave feedback, and nobody asked him a question. He volunteered it take a listen. And then it's going to fast forward to another part where he's asked the question. So, key takeaway, he volunteered praise, encouragement, acknowledgement for the opposing team's quarterbacks. He didn't have to do that, but he did it because it was the right thing to do because they balled out, especially Huntley, who came in less, 24 hours ahead of the game? 24 hours ahead of the game. And then Shedeur, underdeveloped. So the way Shedeur and Huntley are treated, just thrown out there, it shows a pattern and a lack of development for these players. So this is why they should be investigated for organizational mismanagement. But for today, we're talking about why Kevin Stefanski is not only holding back the Cleveland Browns, he's holding back Shedeur Sanders as well. And if you look into his pattern of coaching with other quarterbacks, in particular black quarterbacks, you'll likely find the same. Because one of the things is certain. If this is how you are publicly, meaning you're not being supportive, then you're clearly not creating a supportive environment behind the scenes. And his interview 2 days later, when they returned to the facility and back to Cleveland, was worse than this. This was with the public after the game. Then there's another interview that takes place around the 11th or the 10th. When they get back to Cleveland, he's in front of Browns press and media. It's worse. It's worse. So this man did what coaches do. They coach. I'm going to coach you up. I'm going to coach you up. Voluntarily. You didn't have to pull it out of it. And he wasn't vague. He wasn't evading.
When they happened, that really just put us in a bad spot early on. And so I think we were even in terms of numbers of penalties, but it was when they happened that really just put us in a bad spot early on. And then, I thought they did a great job just getting on the edge, Shedeur extending plays, finding guys down the field. And then even Huntley comes in, and makes a couple of plays with his legs. They were able to continue some drives. I thought they did a great job. I was proud of our group. Played physical. Some great running and hitting happened all across. So really proud of the play style. But, part of our play style is playing smart. I didn't feel like we did that. I felt like there was sloppiness, in some of the drives. And we're looking at 1st and 15.
Clear and concise, right? Feedback that you can grow from, correct? That's what you're supposed to do.
I feel great about the conditioning level of the group, but it's really more about just the all the mechanics, of just coming out of a huddle, different situations that may come up.
Given how many young quarterbacks you've worked with,
Yeah.
what were your observations of Shedeur at practice and
Yeah.
during the game today?
Very impressed. Extending plays when he had to, getting the ball out of his hand quickly. I thought he did a great job of not sitting there in the pocket to see what was going to happen. He either took off and extended and made some plays with his legs, or he got the ball out quickly to a check down. And so I was just really impressed with just the way that he operated out there and really, kept himself pretty clean for the most part.
Dave, every team in this.
So you heard that, right? So let's go back over here.
Yeah, pleased with Shedeur, pleased with the offense. Again, not perfect, plenty that we can work on, but I thought the guys did a really nice job of Shedeur and operating, the guys making plays. So, again, a ton to teach off of.
That's it. That's just it. That's it. Now, did you see the difference? This is not coach of the year for anybody. This is a man that doesn't want to talk about the person he was asked about. This is who this is. Shedeur, yeah, the players just instantly lumped him in with the group, refuses to provide clear, concise feedback that he can grow from so the media can understand what he did well. But we know that's plenty to teach. In other words, he doesn't want to admit that Shedeur is him. That's why Shedeur doesn't get reps, because he's painted the picture that he hasn't earned it. So if I stand here today and say, what the Canales said, right? Then that means Shedeur has earned first team reps. So he's picking and choosing his words so he doesn't have to be accountable for Shedeur not being developed properly. He doesn't want to be accountable for throwing Shedeur into a game, just like Huntley was thrown into a game and sink or swim, and they both swam and succeeded. He doesn't want to do that. This is not a coach of the year. This is somebody that has a prejudice, and not just against Shedeur, also against Huntley. You should have praised Huntley just like the other coach did, because he just got there, didn't even have time to learn anything. That's just like PJ Walker in 2023. They signed him on August the 30th when training camp is technically over. We're getting ready for the first game. He didn't even go through training camp, and he won 2 games in a row, but lost 1, and they want to take him out. And when they get to the end, when Flacco isn't available, after Flacco comes off the practice squad, what happens? They go to somebody that didn't play all season long, not even the preseason. Why did they want to go back to PJ? It seems like this team is allergic to winning with a black quarterback. And definitely have Shedeur at the end of the depth chart, because they don't want him to win at QB1, because they don't want the media to say, hey, you have your franchise QB. Because why? Because next year they're waiting for the 4 white QBs that are expected to come out in the first round. Now, I don't know why they think that, right? Because if you look at 2024 QB projections for college, Shedeur and Cam were way at the bottom. If they were 10, they were 8 and 9. So just because that's what you want, right? And then there's something called the Manning passing camp, right? And I've been paying attention to this. So Archie Manning started a passing camp. You know, like Daryl Colbert Jr. has a QB, select QB athletes, where Shedeur, Cam, and others train. Well, it's called the Manning Passing Academy, which is the same premise started by Archie Manning. And, you know, it features his sons, right? Eli and Peyton. And then they have camp counselors in the past that have been like Pat Mahomes. And every year for the last few years, they've been coaching up particular players. Well, just a month ago, they were coaching up Tyler Shaw. It said Tyler Shaw has a relationship with Archie Manning. I said, well, that explains why Tyler Shaw is in New Orleans. Just like Jackson Dart went to Ole Miss and played for the Giants, like Eli Manning and Archie Manning. I said, oh, that's how Jackson Dart gets to New York. And then I'm looking at the list of the Manning Passing Academy players from last year. Dylan Gabriel is on the list. I said, oh, okay. 2025 expected players, Lenore Sellers, and some of the guys that are listed in the top 5. I said, oh, okay. So the top 5 for college quarterbacks is determined by who's at Manning's Passing Academy. And when QBs like, I'm sure Jackson Dart and or Tyler Shaw struggle, that's where the Manning Passing Academy or Eli Manning himself or somebody else that they determine needs to help them out. That's why Dylan Gabriel is a part of this whole equation, because he went to this academy. And when they can already predict who's coming in before they played a snap in college, that's where the top 5 projected QBs come from. So what you see happening in front of you is guided by a lot happening behind the scenes, and the Mannings have a lot to do with it. It explains why they went with Jackson Dart instead of Quinn Ewers, Tyler Shaw instead of Quinn Ewers, or either of them. Jackson Dart, Tyler Shaw, and not Shedeur or Milroe. And when you look at white QBs, Quinn Ewers was right there. I guess he wasn't at the Manning Academy. And if so, he got screwed. So they go there to learn the pass. It's supposedly, you know, the top QBs coming out of Alabama, Oklahoma, the SEC, this, that, and the other. I think Jalen Milroe went there. So there's a lot happening here behind the scenes. You know, we're getting in early with the decision makers for certain teams. So it makes you wonder, who's the decision maker for the Browns if the Mannings seem to be the decision makers for the Saints and the Giants? And the fact that Dylan went through this Manning Passing Academy and he ends up in Cleveland a third round when he was undrafted in 2024, which, you know, makes you wonder. It makes you wonder, right? So I think he went through the academy in 2024, getting ahead of the 2025 draft. But see, he wanted to come out in the 2024 draft. So maybe going to the Manning Academy worked for him. Since Tyler Shaw has a relationship with Arch Manning, we understand a relationship with Jackson Dart with Arch Manning. We understand a relationship with Arch Manning with the Saints and the Giants. Maybe there's a connection with the Browns too. Maybe it's Haslam. Maybe it's Stefanski. Maybe it's both. But we all know that Dylan Gabriel is not better than Shedeur. And with Haslam coming out and saying Shedeur wasn't his pick and staying quiet while Stefanski, being a good servant leader, wields his prejudice and discrimination against Shedeur, holding him back behind Dylan Gabriel, it tells you that there's more to the story than meets the eye. So it just seems to me that Stefanski has decided to be the person that carries out the directives of the people we can't see behind the scenes. And the Mannings are involved. Now, remember, the Mannings know the Sanders, right? And people like to pretend that the Mannings have a pedigree that the Sanders don't have. And I've said it to people. Maybe they just have different fan bases. But the Sanders are iconic. Not just the players in the family, the whole damn family. And it seems like because they know who the Mannings are and a lot of black people follow the Sanders, it's like they want to discount the Sanders. But a lot of white people follow the Sanders too, right? But they want to put the Mannings over the Sanders, which is probably why Shiloh has a target on his back. Also why, in addition to Shedeur being a black quarterback, he was blocked from New Orleans. He was blocked from the Giants. And the Mannings were involved in both of those situations. So much so that the Saints sent Tyler Shuck there to try to get it together. I watched that preseason game. It didn't work because it's more to being a quarterback than passing the ball. As I said it before, they're afraid to get hit. So it seems like to me that Stefanski is just happy to do the bidding of those that want to remain anonymous.
What was it like seeing those guys step up in that role?
Yeah, that's the exciting part. Yeah, pleased with Shedeur, pleased with the offense. Again, not perfect, plenty that we can work on, but I thought the guys did a really nice job of Shedeur and operating, the guys making plays. So, again, a ton to teach off of.
And he thought he was doing something. So under organizational mismanagement, right, organizational malpractice, if you don't create a supportive environment, right, if you don't create an environment to be supportive to your employees, especially one in particular, or maybe two, right? Or to your black employees. Not only is that discrimination, it also checks off a box of organizational malpractice. And Kevin Stefanski has proven so many times that he's not supportive of Shedeur. He's proven so many times by withholding first team reps, by saying you have to prove it, but not giving an example of how he hasn't. But then when this right here is evidence. This is after a game that Shedeur balled out after being deprived of first team reps, that he had to go and self-develop. That means this is proof that Kevin Stefanski has not created a supportive environment for Shedeur Sanders. That's what this is. So all those awards mean nothing. It's what you do that matters. And he is guilty of creating an unsupportive environment for Shedeur. But they don't seem interested in trading him, do they? So I hope Kevin Stefanski doesn't think that he's going to spend the season kicking on Shedeur, whether it's behind closed doors or with thinly veiled language in public, because we are watching. So let me know your thoughts about these interviews. Let me see what y'all think. I'm going to hop over here in the comments and see what y'all are thinking. Thanks everybody for hanging out today. All right, let's see. Hey Tina, how you doing? How you doing? Hey Sharon, how's everybody doing? Don't forget to hit the like button. Yes, take a moment and hit the like button for me. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Salute. Please watch Miles Presser today. They tried it. Okay, I will. I saw a little bit of it, but I didn't have a chance to focus on it, but I will. Thank you. Hey, Regina, welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Hey, Kevin, how you doing? How you doing? The Browns have released. Who have the Browns released? And Mike Tomlin doesn't have one. Crazy. Yeah, crazy, right? Mike Tomlin doesn't have one, and Brian Flores was fired for not having a losing season, which means they're going to come for Mike Tomlin regardless. And yeah, he don't have an award, but Stefanski does. There is no CEO style of leadership from him. That's not what it is at all. It said, if somebody's trolling, y'all have tools, please use them. If not, I could do it. Mike Tomlin has never won a Coach of the Year award. He was better than Kevin Stefanski. Privilege, right? Definitely privilege. Definitely privilege. It said they have 5 quarterbacks now. So what has transpired? Eunice said they have 6, not 5. It said Kevin Stefanski's executive skills need to be fired immediately. He does need to be fired immediately. He is the one that has the Browns under a microscope. He is the visible problem in Cleveland. And there are clearly people propping him up, right? Because no owner would allow you to devalue and discriminate against and hold back from winning the face of the franchise. And you know how I know he's the face of the Cleveland Browns? Because on their pro shop, it's Shedeur Sanders. I received a post today from the Cleveland Browns wanting to sell me a Shedeur Sanders jersey and a t-shirt, and it said he showed up and showed out. I'm like, it's funny how he can show up and show out but not get credit, right? Not get feedback to grow on, because he doesn't want to encourage him to grow. Kevin Stefanski said in his what? Post-draft press conference. Yeah, we know exactly who Shedeur is. He gonna come in, he gonna work hard, this, that, and the other. And then when he said, you know, Coach Prime did a good job raising him, this, that, and the other, after that, he made a total 360. A total 360. So now he's not comfortable with Shedeur. Shedeur has done nothing to this man. But you see Cleveland running out here to coddle people who have criminal charges. Whether they were dropped or not, they at one point had criminal charges. That's okay. But Shedeur gets kicked for being a good guy. I'm sure if he wasn't a quarterback, it might not be a problem. But because they want to, and they keep saying it, you know, the quarterback is the most, you know, we have high standards for this role, or the quarterback is the most important position in the team. They have said that so many times. It's like they're trying to tell you, because it's the most important position on the team, we can't get Shedeur, which means you pre-draft with him extensively, which is fraud, right? And they said when Stefanski was at CU Pro Day, he was focusing more on Travis, trying to let it be known that he didn't fly down there to look at Shedeur. You weren't going to get Travis either. You weren't going to get Travis either because he don't have no criminal record. So he think he doing something. He has some type of charity, right? Which is supposed to be for underprivileged kids. And he has a photo and a team. I think there's some kind of team he sponsors. And I said underprivileged kids. I looked at all of the photos. Cleveland is 42%, if not 52% Black. And I know they have some underprivileged kids, because what did Shedeur do? He went there to Garden Valley where people were removed from their homes, displaced, because why? Of an explosion. I didn't see him out there. And when I looked at the photos, I saw one Black kid and he was standing next to it. And I'm like, is that Andrew Berry's son? How do you have a football team in Cleveland with one Black kid on it? How do you have underprivileged kids and you don't have anybody else that's Black? But you stand by the one Black kid. I'm like, that must be Andrew Berry's kid, because, you know, or the coach's kid, because the coach was Black. All the players on the team were white. It said, I think Deion Sanders will become a coach in the NFL in 2 seasons. He's not about to allow this storyline to continue and intervene if necessary. Who he gonna work for? Who he gonna work for? Jerry Jones? Because that's about it. And I don't think that's gonna happen. We're gonna talk about Shedeur Sanders and Michael Parsons tonight. I just give you a snippet. It looks like the two, Michael Parsons and Jerry Jones, the Cowboys, are headed for a divorce. That's the term that's being used. And I said this was going to happen. Because if you wanted to sign him, you would sign him. And it seems like they're saying supposedly he and Jerry were having an informal conversation while they were out somewhere and end up shaking hands during the conversation. And Jerry wants Michael to stick to whatever it was they were discussing, but it's not recorded. And Michael wants him to talk to his agent. His agent is David Mulugeta, who I think is representing Juju or wants to, but I think might be. He's a black agent. And, you know, I think it's interesting that they refuse to talk to him. And for all of the people that keep saying Shedeur should have had an agent, Michael Parsons has an agent. The Cowboys refuse to talk to him. Anthony Richardson just got his job stolen from underneath his feet and given to the guy that failed for 6 years in New York named Daniel Jones. And he has an agent. Did it work for him? So no, Shedeur didn't need an agent. They know exactly who Shedeur is. They have told us many times in their post-draft press conference. The NFL has told us many times in their draft profile of Shedeur. And every other outlet that does scouting combines and profiles told us who Shedeur was. The number 1 pick coming out of school until they decided to pair him up with Deshaun Watson and pigeonhole him to Cleveland under false pretenses. Because the way they're treating him now, they just want him to get the hell on. That's all it is. But do you see them willing to trade him? Because they can't. I showed you the chart yesterday, right? Where you gonna go? You can't trade him from another fourth string because he's not 4th string. And another team gonna be like, I don't want to deal with that. If he can't come over here as QB1, his fans and NFL fans gonna be standing on my head. And that's facts. So he gonna be right there. And Kevin Stefanski gonna rotate every quarterback they had, just like they did in 2023. And he gonna try to give the victory to Joe Flacco at the end of the season. Well, let's see if he make it. Reminder, Joe Flacco has up to $13 million in incentives in his 1-year contract of $4 million. That's motivation to get off of your couch and start week 1. It said, great job. You be doing your thing. I love you and the show. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you, Devon. Thank you so much. It said they have 6 QBs. It said Stefanski shouldn't have been named coach of the year in 2023. D'Amico Ryans should have been named coach of the year. A rookie head coach taking his team 10-7 to the playoffs in his first year. Oh, that's the Texans head coach, CJ Stroud's coach. Right. And CJ Stroud put that team on his back. And look what happened in year 2. And at the end of this year, they were already saying after CJ Stroud got sacked excessively in his sophomore season so he don't get back, they try to pick apart the team to the point people were asking, what the hell is going on with the Texans? Facts. They make these black head coaches, these black quarterbacks' lives difficult, try to snatch their dream away of being not only successful, but successful and celebrated. Successful and celebrated. I think about how when I'm traveling, right? Or if I'm in Houston, I see Astros commercials with the players, right? For HEB. If you know what HEB is, I say now it's a flagship high-end grocery store. It can be, it just depends, called Central Market, right? So they have the Astros to advertise every year. CJ Stroud advertised every year. I never see anything else like that. I never see it. Maybe because I'm not in a different city, but I do travel, right? So you would think that on a national level, you would think you would see, just like you see Anthony Edwards in ads. Who is the NFL equivalent that's in these national ads? I mean, Shedeur came through the door with it. It should be Shedeur, right? They should just increase his Nike presence. But who exists in the NFL that is celebrated with these type of endorsements, celebrates the success, the endorsements, furthers their success financially, face of the brand like Anthony Edwards is for the NBA and Adidas? Who is that person right now? Let me know. Drop some names in the chat. All right. Elijah says Tyler Huntley was released. Okay, I trust you, Elijah. Where did you see that, by the way? Let me know where you saw it. It said it's awful leadership there. Right. It is. And I'm like, I don't know how he won awards. Like, they must be awarding him for something else. Awarding him for something else. Hey, Simply Sarah, how you doing? How you doing? How you doing? It says Shedeur has been the best in practice and in the game, better all around. Right. Which is why Kevin Stefanski should be fired. It's a number of things he should be fired for. But, you know, that just falls into organizational malpractice, discrimination. That's what it is. If you listen to his language, you know, we have such high standards for this position. He can't even call Shedeur a quarterback. He calls him a thrower. He can't even provide feedback. So how are we supposed to even trust you that he didn't earn reps? You're trying to set it up like he failed, but then when he goes out and balls out, you can't even give him praise. That checks off the boxes of organizational malpractice. And then I guess Barry is not going to trade him away because he knows Shedeur is an asset. He said it. Shedeur will outproduce his draft stock. If that's the case, they know he's going to be better than the 3 or the 2. You don't say that if you're moving up 1. Somebody said, when did they release Tyler Huntley? Tyler Huntley was not released today. All right. Elijah, are y'all reading the old story about when he was released? Somebody send me a link and let me know, or I'm going to have to stop and look it up. Thank you. It said they are putting negative narratives out. Shedeur doesn't take feedback well. Oh, okay. Yeah. And that's not true, right? Because remember when he was on the side talking to Andrew Barry, and Barry was telling him you did well. He said, you a little please. You know, he was, that's just not true. That's why I said Shedeur being mic'd up was a saving grace. It saw how genuine he was, right? And that's no different than, you know, how he is most of the times. It's just, they just don't want to say it out loud. Like they told Marlon Briscoe, yeah, you're good, but we don't want you to be our quarterback because you're black. They can't say that in 2025. But so they're trying to find ways to say it without being accused of racism or investigated for discrimination again, or be sued for civil rights violations again. Already 2 cases open, settled 1 case. 2021, 2022, 2025. The public lashing is really shameful. Facts. And I saw something today. Do y'all remember when Coach Prime had his show? I don't know what it's called. Could be Deion's Playbook. And Shedeur, they transferred to a new school. And the first day was kind of rough for him. And when Coach Prime was coaching him up and encouraging him and telling him, I got you. And, you know, having him to do something by himself so he could have confidence, right? Like being a true coach, but he was being a father. And people were saying this is why Shedeur is okay in Cleveland. He was built for this moment. Because last night I was like, you know, these types of situations are tough on young people. But then I remembered something. Shedeur is not isolated, right? We see people embracing him. This is why. This is why, right? But see, Cleveland doesn't ever foresee any of those players being questioned or an investigation for whether it's discrimination, civil rights violations, organizational malpractice. They don't ever foresee a situation where they will be investigated and everybody that works there questioned. But that's why people are coming around him. 1, because he's the best, and 2, because of how he's being treated by Stefanski. He's being iced out by Stefanski because he wants him gone. And I don't think it's just because Dylan's his pick, because that's just a weird obsession at this moment. It's because he's been entrusted to hold Shedeur back and not let him get to the franchise QB long-term starter spot. And they don't want that. They want to wait till next year. It said, let's be real. These white coaches can't relate to these black players, especially the QBs. They used to statue QBs, and they don't know how to coach athletic QBs. I'm a former coach from Little League. Oh, okay, to high school. Oh, okay, thank you, Rodney. Thank you. Oh, well, I mean, that's one of the reasons. That's actually a good point. That's one of the reasons that they don't like Coach Prime. Not just because he's black, because he'll be relatable to the players, because the players will want to go there, because he'll do a better job of caring about them. It is a known fact. At these big schools, before Coach Prime arrived, with non-black coaches, they don't care about the players. They don't care about the players at all. And it was worse before NIL. That's why they were opposed to NIL. I'm out here treating you like trash, but you about to make more than me. Facts. Primetime JJ. I don't know what the league gonna do when he show up, because he just as big as Shedeur, and he's a wide receiver. He had a signing somewhere publicly. Must be, wherever he go to school, Ohio State, somewhere up in that area. It looked like a concert, people waiting to get in. Yelling, screaming, crying. I'm like, oh my God. Kid already has the Lambo. Or if not, he can afford to rent one. Name is Primetime JJ. When I first came across him last year before the Natty, I said, what is his nickname? Primetime JJ. I don't know what they're going to do with him. You trying to shut down Shedeur, you ain't going to shut him down. He ain't playing the most important position. So let me see what you're going to do with him. See, a lot of these kids are going to come out like that. I watch people play youth sports, 7-on-7, flag football, tackle 7-on-7, whatever you want to call it. They have these kids on camera after every game asking them their social. They have them with these fly uniforms. They have them doing their celebratory dances. They can put on their glasses. They are confident from Little League now. So Primetime JJ, imagine if they had that when he was in Little League. So you got a kid coming behind him that's going to be primetime somebody else. You're not going to tell these kids to leave it at the door. You working overtime and confused. You trying to smother Shedeur's success and profit off of it at the same time. I mean, that's just the very definition of confusion. Social media. He showed up and showed out in Cleveland, but he 4 straight. That don't go together. That does not go together. And Kevin Stefanski is starting to stand out like a sore thumb, because holding Shedeur back behind Dylan is malfeasance. No matter how much people try to spin Dylan's performance, 54 PFF rating is below average. It's not working. They keep trying it, but it's not sticking. And the people who like Dylan are just falling to the wayside. So Kevin Stefanski, people are calling for him to be fired. And it needs to happen. Either he got to go or Shedeur got to go. But somebody going to move on. And to be honest with you, you would think they would trade him. But you can kind of see that there's internal politics with Barry. I'm going to get this guy for $4 million, even though he ain't get him, but that's how he acting, right? Well, he's my guy, and I'm not going to let him go. I'm going to get something for him. But they both know that Shedeur is a franchise QB and worth more than a 5th round pick, should not be 4 straight. That's why I don't like neither one of them. They both are snakes. So I'm glad the other players are starting to embrace Shedeur publicly, right? And I think it'll continue to happen. But when you look at Isaiah Bond getting there after having criminal charges, and I read that Stefanski said they were working with him for months, learning about his case. They probably helped him get out of it. Yeah, I would not doubt it. Quinshon Judkins too. They want to do that for them. And Isaiah Bond gets first team reps, but only Shedeur Sanders, the elite QB1, that when you put him at the helm of the game with real talent, he gonna ball out better than he did with the Panthers. And that's what they don't want, because he's black. That's criminal. I know the Panthers wanted Shedeur said it. I said it. I said I think they crushing on him. So they ended up with a fourth string. And if they were crushing on him and they like, well, yeah, he ain't gonna be fourth string over here. They like, well, we can't do it because Cleveland is invested with the owner himself holding Shedeur back. He wasn't my pick and allowing Stefanski to run rogue. The owner's in on it too. And all the owners took Shedeur off the board. So they're still colluding. And I asked the question the other day, when are the owners going to stop colluding against Shedeur? Because we know you did. It's not like you can't say you did. Everybody know you did. And we also know that's why he being held back. That explains Kevin Stefanski's weird obsession with Dillon being a wedge and a pet at the same time. He's a pet because Stefanski wants Dillon to be the wedge, so I got to make you think you better than him. And like some children, right, who are not mature enough to understand what's really going on, Dillon fell for it. When they trying to get their franchise QB next year, so what you going to be next year? They third string again? So you just good with being mediocre. And you think you something because you holding back Shedeur. You ain't holding Shedeur back. It just ain't time for him to move forward. Understand that. Hey, Miss T. Lou, how you doing? How you doing? Yep, that's coaching. Canales was coaching after the press conference. He even said nice things about Tyler Huntley. It said D'Amico Ryans also had a rookie QB when he went 10-7. Wow. Yep. CJ Stroud. You would think that the Panthers head coach was Shedeur's head coach. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Hey, Gemini. Kane Bishop said this dude. Yeah, just total trash. Stefanski talking to Shedeur threw 2 picks and fumbled a handoff. Right. I didn't even listen to, I'm going to be honest with y'all. It took a lot of strength and willpower to listen to him. I have never listened to his press conference because I know he's full of it. I've read about it because, AI going to give you the tea. So I read about it, but I was like, Lord, give me strength to listen to this. And I listened to it, and I'm telling y'all, we're going to listen to another one. The one that he did on August 11th is worse than this. So I'm like, this is your performance level. This you putting on a show, and you still can't get it right. So when he went back home in front of the Browns media, it was worse. So we're going to look at that too. We're going to react to that too. So our reaction stomach, we still in reaction mode. It said he seems annoyed, like he just wanted to miss T. What did he want to do? Hurry up and get past it. He was so quick to lump in everybody else with Shedeur. He didn't want to talk about Shedeur individually. These are the things he going to get fired for. It's coming. Mark my words. It might not be today because why? The owner appreciates his work, his servitude. So it's going to take some wrangling, but it's going to happen. It said the dude is a fraud. Right. It said, thanks for the truth, Selmo. Yeah, he just really is. I'm still confused about how this man won 2 coaches of the year because he's a servant leader. I never thought he was a good coach. Right. And remember when Camaro Kitchen came the other day and said Stefanski should have been fired 2 years ago? I don't think Deshaun Watson was really injured like they said he was. I'm starting to wonder, and I don't think it's Deshaun's doing. I think it's the team's doing, and I don't know how you investigate that, but forensics can get it done. So it would be nice. You know what I want for Christmas? I want the Cleveland Browns, who is currently under a microscope. I want there to be an investigation or a lawsuit launched against the Cleveland Browns for organizational malpractice. I believe so many people have been hurt and abused and discriminated against. And when I think about Deshaun Kaiser going 0-15 before Stefanski got there, it needs to be looked into. I think a lot of wrongs have to come to light. And Shedeur having 4 million fans is the one to get it done. And I think after those kind of things start to take place, or at least get in motion, that we have all of the evidence and the information that we need to look into, Shedeur gonna be gone. He gonna be gone. And it's their karma because they pre-draft with him on the false pretenses and built him up to believe he was going to make $46 million. And then when they got him for $4 million, they want to devalue him and stick him at the back of the depth chart. Those two don't go together. So Barry and Stefanski and Haslam, they all got to go. It's time to clean house in Cleveland. The team needs to be forced to be sold. Look at how Stefanski is treating Shedeur and think about Donald Sterling and why he was forced to sell his team. Haslam is allowing Stefanski to abuse Shedeur Sanders. I stand on that in court. Carolina coach can relate to Shedeur because his QB is about the same age. Hello? How old is DTR? Yeah, they have had 12 quarterbacks. So they have had various ages since Stefanski has been there. So it's not he can relate to Shedeur. It's that he's not choosing to be prejudiced or discriminating against Shedeur. He's not actively trying to hold him back so he can let his words flow freely. See, Kevin Stefanski is using vagueness as a way to try to make sure he doesn't say the wrong thing. That would have the media asking him, why hasn't Shedeur had first team reps? So Kevin Stefanski's vagueness is a way to try to duck accountability where Shedeur is concerned and anything else that he's asked about. So that's an excuse. I appreciate what you're sharing there, Sean, but at the same time, there are no excuses for Stefanski's poor mistreatment, prejudice, discrimination, harassment, unsupportedness, and toxic environment that he has created for Shedeur Sanders, specifically for Shedeur Sanders. It's that you are so right. Shedeur Sanders is going to ball out. Facts. What's the problem or issue with the Browns letting Shedeur move on? Hell, they didn't draft him. So they're going to have to wait till the owners stop colluding against him. And one of them is Haslam, right? Look at what Haslam is allowing. And you know what it proves? Why Shedeur is here and balled out and Dylan Gabriel is put in front of him and Joe Flacco is starting. You know what it proves? The draft was not about Coach Prime. That's exactly what it proves. See, if you didn't like Coach Prime, you would have drafted and take none of his sons. You would have just left them. You know, people go undrafted, right? They also don't get drafted at all and they don't get an invite to camp. You just move on without them. This is not about Coach Prime. Coach Prime is a scapegoat to hide the racism, which is the reason that 17-32 is a reality. And why Shedeur, who was number 17, is being held back so far because they know he's that good. We know Shedeur is going to outproduce his draft stock. So when he does, we're going to get more for him when we trade him and we get our white quarterback that's going to be long-term franchise and make $46 to $50 million. They hate to see these players get rich. If they black, they hate to see them walk away with the money and live a decent life. That's why so many of them go broke. They are constantly devalued around the clock, which is why so many of them don't know who they are when they leave the league. But players like Jalen Hurts, who decided to get his master's, Jalen Milroe, who also got his degree and possibly a master's from Alabama. They don't want to talk about them. They don't want to talk about them. But they ready to coddle players that come in with criminal charges so they can hold you up and talk about it at dinner. We know this black guy is, all the black guys have criminal charges because that's all you see, right? It will make you think none of the white players get into anything at all, even if it's running through a toll booth. And I think they said Jackson Dart was just riding up and down the freeways in New York without a toll tag and racking up all sorts of kind of things, but nobody talked about it because they want to paint them in a positive light. And another thing they're doing, I think they're trying to pressure Manning to come out, even though his family has said 2 years. So I don't know if y'all know. I like Arch Manning because I can tell he makes his own decisions. Arch Manning said he was going to come out in 2 years. He was seen hanging out with some black people somewhere. So he got black friends or hang around black people. He's not afraid of black people. He's comfortable around black people. Then something came out about some Venmo transactions. And it like they tried to embarrass him about it, right? The next thing you know, I listened to him in a press conference today or yesterday. He said he's now coming out of school day by day. When I saw the Venmo transaction, I said they're trying to force him out because they know he makes his own decisions, so his family can't influence it. But now with the Venmo transactions, this could hurt you. You might want to come on and come out now. Now they trying to force him to come out. So he can't live his own life. And he don't put nothing on paper. They want to go off his name, his name. They call Shedeur a Nepo baby. But New Orleans is trying to pave the way for Nussmeier's son to come out of LSU to go directly into New Orleans, the Saints. Is that not a Nepo baby? It's okay when they do it, but when we do it, it's a problem. And people need to call it out. Manning is also a Nepo baby. And Tyler Shaw and Jackson Dart, while they don't seem to be related to them, are benefiting from their relationships with them, with the Mannings. And that should ask you, who the hell running the Cleveland Browns? Because we see who running the Saints and the Giants. There's a lot there. And with the Manning Passing Academy being a funnel to the NFL, it's like they trying to pick and choose before they even play a snap who's coming out based on who they pick. That's corruption. It said evil will never get ahead. And when that Browns coach gets fired for no wins, it's all his fault because of his decision making. Pick six deal are not that good at all. And here's the thing. His record last year was like 4. They won 4 games, I think. 4-13. This year they projected to go the same, 3-14. Yep. It said he made Gabriel to start with his he set Gabriel up to start. So yeah, they're talking about this game coming up, the Rams, right? The Rams game is supposed to be a press conference. It's supposed to be, not a press conference, a dress rehearsal for who starts. Understand, when they got Joe Flacco off his couch for 1 year for $4 million, that seems okay, right? Even though he plays half a season, it should be $2.5 million. But when you give him a contract laced with incentives of up to $13 million, that means you were luring him to get off his couch. So yeah, I'm going to let you start so you can hit these incentives. Now they saying he the starter for week 1. Even Joe Flacco say, yeah, you know how that go. So he just got to hit his marks. So that's why he in front of Shedeur, because they got him off his couch. So you're going to have to live up to whatever you said to get me off of my couch. And $13 million in incentives is enough to get me off of my couch to play 6 games. So look at what they willing to give him and look at how they willing to harm Shedeur. Shedeur should also ask Stefanski, like he asked Tony Grossi, what did I do to you, Kevin? He probably has. It wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me at all. Shedeur is way better than Gabriel. It's not even a competition. It's really not. It's just Stefanski wanting it to be so. I'm like, okay, we're going to see how long they leave you off the leash with this ridiculousness that everybody can see what it is. And this is what's going to get you fired. Poor decision making. That's why you got 6 quarterbacks. And something's wrong when everybody that's a quarterback is hurt. That's a problem. It makes you look like side-eye the whole situation. Jungle Brother said, keep giving Stefanski hell. Just calling out accountability. That's what it is. That's what it is, because it's obvious that he is the visible problem in Cleveland. If Canales or anybody like Canales, that was a true coach that had, true directives to win, you wouldn't be seeing this. Stefanski is there because they don't care about winning. I don't even know why they don't want to win, because you don't even have to tank. You have the first pick next year. So you could win this year. You could win for your fans who've been so loyal. They don't care about nothing but racism and making sure Shedeur don't get to be the QB1 so that they fans don't go, keep him. I'm like, you only paid him $4 million, so I suspect you're going to trade him. See, the things that they're doing to be racist, they don't even have to do. They didn't have to do any of it in the draft. They didn't even have to invite him to the draft. But they didn't want him to go to Canada and take 4 million fans with him. See, that's right there is what gets people locked up. That type of greediness. I don't want you to benefit from what we have going on. And I want to stop you from going somewhere else and being successful. Okay, that's what's going to get you busted. You should have just let him walk, because now you're going to have to justify why the hell you draft him. Matter of fact, why you even invite him to the combine if one of these little NFL insiders that can be easily identified at this point, because they put the title in their bio, Adam Schefter, Ian Rappaport, can tell Mel Kiper Jr. the NFL don't want quarterbacks like Shedeur Sanders now. We don't want that kind of quarterback. And then you got Stefanski running around saying, we're not comfortable with Shedeur. You know, that position is we have elite high standards. It's all coded. They didn't want Shedeur and quarterbacks that are like him that are black. That's why Anthony Richardson got jacked for his job. And it went to Daniel Jones, who failed 6 years in a row. 6. Of all people to give that job to, what happened to the second guy on the depth chart or the third guy? And why can't why didn't Daniel Jones stay over there and compete with J.J. McCarthy? In fact, why are only black quarterbacks being forced to compete? There are no white quarterbacks competing. They just exposing themselves all over the place. And I don't know why they think people not paying attention. I have a holistic view of the situation, and I'm not the only person. I'm just probably one of the few willing to talk about it. I'm not even a Browns fan, and I'm upset. Right, Titus? Because that's how a lot of people feel. That's how a lot of people feel. And somebody said on X today, Shedeur Sanders fans, I said 2 million NFL fans purchased 250 million in jerseys. Understand that. So stop being narrow-minded. 2 million jerseys or so. They NFL fans. They want to just try to discredit people who support Shedeur Sanders. So they want to be narrow-minded in their remarks and in their takes as if we didn't, Colorado fans. I'm like, okay, so we Shedeurians, Shedeur Sanders fans, Colorado fans. Well, guess what? They so narrow-minded, they forgot, or they didn't even consider that Colorado fans are also NFL fans. And some of us followed that Jackson State fans. You see how narrow-minded they want to be? So quick to discredit, but they're not even thinking of the bigger picture here. We're NFL fans. NFL fans are happy to have Shedeur. Hell, it's a lot of non-NFL fans following Colorado. It's a lot of NFL fans following Colorado, like good football. We're football fans. Trying to discredit the situation instead of holding Stefanski accountable because he's the visible problem. The other coach knows how to give constructive criticism. The Browns coach is trying to find a lie to tell. There you go. Mincing words, trying to be vague because I don't want to be held accountable. He is the coach of the year because his position is given, not earned. With his daddy up in the higher rankings of the NBA, no black coach would get this much praise for mediocrity. Oh, his father is I didn't look into his life like that. His father is in the NBA. Well, there you go. He a Nepo baby. Isn't that something? A Nepo baby calling somebody else a Nepo baby. Wow. It said, how don't the Browns want to win with a black QB when they've had a black QB most money ever? All right, let's talk about that. How many games in one season has Deshaun Watson played? Has he ever played an entire season in Cleveland? No. Your franchise QB is going to play the entire season unless they're injured. That is what a franchise QB does. You sign them to a lucrative contract. They play every season, and they play the majority of the season. That's what they do. The Browns did not take a big swing and missed. Andrew Berry does not have the authority to give Deshaun Watson a black quarterback with the way they trying to hold back Shedeur Sanders from being their franchise QB. And they've never drafted a black franchise QB in the first round. They did not give. Andrew Berry does not have as a black GM with the way they treat black people when it comes to hiring and firing. Andrew Berry did not get carte blanche to give Deshaun Watson $230 million with the way that they collude, dismiss, devalue black quarterbacks. There's something going on there. And it probably has everything to do with when the Texans, the lawyer that was actually the neighbor of the owner of the Texans, found all of these women that didn't come forward, but they were found. It probably has something to do with those women know some of the other Texans players, coaches, employees that are married with children as well. And they didn't want that to come out. So now I got to reverse pedal. I got to give Deshaun Watson his money back. They're going to need to give Shedeur his money back too. I already told you it's not a coincidence All these injuries Deshaun Watson have, and damn near every quarterback except for Flacco has been injured. Are they using injuries as excuses? Because these hamstrings are not easy to see. What are we even doing with Pickett? How long is he going to be out? Shedeur better than him too. Huntley is better than Dillon. So they are manufacturing a team that they wish to have at the expense of winning. And they don't want Shedeur to have nothing to do with it. But if you notice, they can't trade him either. If they didn't want him, they would have got rid of him. If they could, but they couldn't even draft him because he wasn't on the board. Legendary Shedeur Sanders is a much better player than Pick Six Dillon. Right. No argument about it at all. That's why the Browns moved on by saying, well, we're just more comfortable with Shedeur. What you think? I can't see into that. Shedeur had done anything to make them uncomfortable. And then if you just take all the snippets of all his interviews and put them together, you're going to see what it is. You're going to see exactly what it is. Oh, the position is elite. You know, we have such elite high standards. So he doesn't meet the standard. We're just more comfortable with him. In other words, we know you're good, but we don't want you to be our quarterback. But this is not 1968. So they can't say that. That's why they were trying to use the stereotype that's persistent against black quarterbacks. He was having trouble picking up the plays. Put together every damn thing he has said and put it on a loop, and you're going to see what it is. Especially when he says, unfortunately, we're going to have to put him down. I about had whiplash when I heard that. I wasn't even looking at whatever device I heard that on. I was like, run that back. Put it all together. And he's cooked. It says Shedeur should be like, put me on the practice squad. So they think that he's not developed. I bet they would not do it because Andrew Berry not putting Shedeur on the practice squad. He going to try to get every dime for Shedeur. Imagine that this is a slave trade because that's how they treating it. When Shedeur made through 3 touchdowns, Kevin Stefanski didn't even get him praise on the sidelines. Right. And when Shedeur was talking to Andrew Berry, pay attention. We probably going to take a look at that too, if we can. Pay attention to Kevin Stefanski with the volume off. Just watch him. He's standing there. He act like he don't know or hear them behind him when you know he does because there's a guy to the back, to the right that looks over at Berry and Shedeur. And then Stefanski takes his headset, put it down, trying to act like he can't hear. Then he kind of fidgets a little bit. Then he snatches it off and walks off. Watch it with the sound off. The man is cooked. It said with Shedeur, yeah, and that's exactly what happened. He didn't give him any kind. And look at how he treated the interviews. And when he got back to Cleveland, it was worse. Shedeur has done nothing to him. Shedeur is black and he got a problem. That's why I said he is the visible problem in Cleveland. Not him winning twice, and someone with much more winning and longevity like Mike Tomlinson says volumes about the league. It does, Chanel. It does. I like that, Coach. It says Stefanski always looks mad. Right, because he's not happy. He's not happy because Shedeur's there. Shedeur's good. And all he does all day is try to hold Shedeur back and make people think Shedeur's not good. So when Shedeur went and balled out, Shedeur looked like an NFL. Like he'd been here already. But we knew that, right? We said he was the most NFL-ready QB coming into the draft. Stefanski death is on one. It said maybe a death. It may be a stretch. He's possibly hiding his position. What you saying? No, it's not a stretch. It's not a stretch at all, unless you think Dillon is good. If you think it's a stretch, you haven't been paying attention. You haven't watched every interview. You haven't read the things that, they have said. Everything that Kevin Stefanski have basically said about Shedeur, we have elite, high standards for this position. That's why he can't get it. We're going to have to put him down. He's not a horse. He's not a canine. He's a human being that had a mild oblique strain. You're going to have to put him down. He's having trouble reading Reps, he's having trouble learning the plays. Reps have to be earned. See, I read, I guess, like the scouting report from the NFL. A lot of these black quarterbacks have a lot of similarities in why they drafted in the 5th round. A lot of them. And it has a lot to do with processing. It's known that that is a pervasive and persistent stereotype to hold back a black quarterback. But yet they get out here and ball out. And some people want to say, oh, he's a gamer. I have never heard anybody say Shedeur doesn't process plays. Even Coach Polak said I was his first offensive coordinator, and he has never. Everything that was said about Shedeur, they are just mimicking and treating him as if it were true from the draft. They are still colluding against Shedeur Sanders. And the owner is allowing it because why? He's one of the owners that colluded against Shedeur Sanders in the draft. Kevin Stefanski is what he said he is, a servant leader of the Cleveland Browns. So it's not a stretch. I don't know why people just want to excuse somebody who has a losing record, has had 12 quarterbacks since 2020 or 2021, who ran off Baker Mayfield, who trying to run off Shedeur, who trying to hold back Shedeur, who trying to discredit Shedeur when he's the best. And no, Shedeur don't need to ask for a trade, because do you remember what happened when Deshaun Watson asked for a trade? And it's funny how the NFL, fans try to talk about Deshaun Watson, but they don't have nothing to say about Justin Tucker. They quietly moved him to another team. They ain't give him all his money back. Justin Tucker proved Deshaun Watson wasn't the only one. That's why he got his money back. And Cleveland think they can kick him every day and use him as a scapegoat to block Shedeur. False. I've never seen anything like this. It's insane, right? Because normally these things take place in corporate America behind the scenes, and you don't really get to see this type of thing. But they want to let it fly, so we're going to talk about it. And that's what happened when you want to be arrogant and you want everybody to know what you're doing. And that's what Stefanski's doing. He's trying to tell you. He's proud. Why was Saban respected? Because he had a set. It said this coach is full of it, right? They will retaliate against him. Yeah. I mean, you could kind of see that all of the players that were a part of the collusion case, Lamar Jackson, Russell Wilson, and Kyler Murray have all been retaliated against. Kyler Murray had in his contract that he was asking for fully guaranteed. He got the contract. He got the money. He didn't get the guarantees, but they put a clause in his contract that says he has to watch so many hours of film a day. They gave him homework. And Warren Moon could see and called it out as being racist, but he can't see it with Shedeur. So he felt safe calling out the racism of Kyler Murray, but he wouldn't dare call it out with Shedeur, saying Shedeur had to be different because he was a quarterback, right? But at the same time, Warren Moon went to Canada to avoid what happened to Shedeur and to Kyler Murray being devalued and retaliated against. So Kevin Stefanski saying we have high standards is just another reason to tell you, this not why, we're not going with Shedeur because, he don't meet our standards. Investigation. Pin him to the wall. So yes, they will retaliate against him. And honestly, let's just be honest, right? Shedeur has the clearest path to QB1 in Cleveland. I showed you the chart yesterday. The clearest path is in Cleveland. They messing up by holding him hostage because Flacco is part-time and not even half the season. And Flacco probably going to win against Cincinnati, so they're going to let him roll again. And they're going to try to let Flacco roll until Kenny Pickett is ready to go. And then they're going to want to go with Dylan to weave him in, maybe like DTR, and it's going to be a disaster. Or suddenly he going to be injured again because he healed up real fast. He going to be injured again, and then they're going to throw Shedeur into a game like Baltimore or some game that they think he can't win, maybe Pittsburgh. But they're going to put Dylan in with something easy. And then pay attention to who they put in London. That's very important. Just pay attention. It's all sorts at the top crooked with yeah, it is. It just is. Unfortunately, it just really is. It's that the Browns need to take a real close look at the OC and QB coach. Over 30 QBs in the organization, and they have not developed not one. And that's what somebody said. Oh, they had plenty of black quarterbacks. I said, and where are they now? I didn't even know they had Jacoby Brissett come through there. I'm like, geez, Jacoby Brissett, and Tyrod Taylor and RG3. Just those three stories alone. Jacoby Brissett done been passed and passed and passed. Y'all know the story of Tyrod Taylor getting poked in the in the lung. Y'all know that story. And y'all know RG3's story. Because the Washington Commanders had to sell after that. And that's what needs to happen. That's the remedy for any lawsuit or investigation with the Browns. You're going to find what you're looking for. You're going to find organizational malpractice. Stefanski not even trying to hide it. And that's what's going to get Haslam to make him forced to sell his team. Stefanski. You would think he would be like, look, I'm going to need you to tone that down. No. They arrogant. So they want to let it fly. Okay, we taking notes and got receipts. It said Browns have 6 quarterbacks on their squad. I just pray that the Browns place our internet nephew Shedeur on the practice squad. I don't want to hear anything about Shedeur on the practice squad. They could cut him. They could trade him. But they will not further humiliate him by putting him on a practice squad. You can waive him and another team has 24 hours to get him. Do that or just let it be. Because no, all they are trying to do is humiliate him. He too damn good to be on the practice squad. And you can waive him without trying to humiliate him again. Cleveland wants to lose. Something is up with that organization. They don't care if they win, Mac. That's what it is. They just don't care if they win with Shedeur. They're going to try to win with Flacco. That's why they brought him back, right? Because they had a winning record and they rotated 6 quarterbacks. So if they have 5 active quarterbacks, they're going to rotate 5 active quarterbacks again. That's what Stefanski did in 2023. And when Flacco came off the practice squad, I think he lost the first game, won the last 4, and they let him stay in rotation, right? And turned it over to somebody else when Flacco got hurt. It's a huge probability that Flacco gets hurt unless they do the whole no play action, running the ball, or just check downs. So they know what they have in him, and they know he got incentives that he's trying to hit too. So there you go. It said, I can't keep watching these bums purposely try to ruin an innocent star who has worked hard his whole life to be the best QB. That's facts. And that's why I had to tune them out. On social media, I only follow one reporter from the Browns. I saw Myles Garrett talking, but I couldn't give it the time because I was actually working and doing other things and getting ready for this show. So I was like, you know what? I have to protect my peace, right? I have to protect my peace in this situation, meaning don't give up on following Shedeur. I follow his social media. I keep tabs. I'm not hyper-focused. No, can't do it. Can't do it. It said they want to get Archie out so bad. Right. I think that whole Venmo story was to force him to change his mind. So he better wonder who put it out there. You never heard anything about him until he said he wasn't coming out for the next 2 years. It said correct. That is why you do not hear others talking that are in the, what happened? Nia, I was trying to understand what you were saying. Oh, you talking to Happy Days. Okay, that's fine. It said that's how Daniel Jones got to the Giants as a first round pick when he should have been drafted in the later rounds. Right. And to me, they did the same thing with Anthony Richardson. And I'm trying to figure out why Daniel Jones just couldn't compete with J.J. McCarthy, who hasn't proven anything. And Shedeur had to prove everything, and it still didn't matter. I mean, I don't know what else you need to understand what discrimination looks like. You don't do that to everybody. Even though Baker Mayfield wanted out of there, was he treated like Shedeur? No, not at all. And that's the difference. Just like Quinn Ewers. Was Quinn Ewers defamed and humiliated and in the draft? No, that's the difference. They go the extra mile to hurt Shedeur. So while he was prepared for this unknowingly, right? Meaning you didn't know it was coming, that don't make it right that he can survive it. We talked about that before. And the fact that he's not isolated, he should be better off than, say, somebody in corporate America who was busily doing their job and they're being treated the same way and they can't tell nobody about it, or they don't know who to tell and they just struggling in silence. At least he's being surrounded by other people, encouraged by other people, and embraced by other people. That's one of the pluses. And that's how I know he's going to make it. That's how I know he's going to make it. He's not isolated. But they're mistreating him in public where the cameras can't see. But you can see the effects of it as to why people are coming around. That's what I said, how long before Stefanski loses the locker room? Maybe a couple of games. The games have to go badly first. It says Saban is coming to the Browns. He might be, but he said he's not coaching anymore, right? It said Rizzo wants Shedeur to ask for a trade. And that's saying a lot if the Browns media want him to request the trade. Well, they must be setting him up for retaliation because they know what comes with that. It's not like they don't know what comes with that. Hell, they got Deshaun Watson after he asked for a trade. And we saw how that went. It said the junior high politics has no place in men's professional sports. I totally agree. It said the best thing for Shedeur is to ask for a trade. Nope, it is not the best thing. You don't know the NFL if you think that's the best thing, and you definitely don't know Deshaun Watson's story. It said, we have to connect the dots. This is personal. Nope, it's not personal because he's not the first black quarterback there. Look at their draft pattern of behavior since 2020 to now. Look at who they've drafted in the first round. Why you think they rotate QBs? Because when you have 3 black QBs on the roster and I don't want none of them to be the starter, I'm going to rotate all of them 2023. And last night when I shared the chart, I said, oh, Shedeur's a triplet. Huntley's there and Deshaun Watson and Shedeur. That's 3 black quarterbacks. I don't want none of them to get to the front. So I'm going to rotate all 3 of them. I put the Shedeur behind the pen and won't let him get in front of the person he's better than. Same goes for Huntley. But I'm willing to throw both of them into the preseason game underdeveloped. And this is a clear-cut case. For people who see this all the time, it is just clear-cut. It said, all the QBs you mentioned aren't better than Shedeur. Facts. Dan Lanning is a part of the connection. Yes, that is why. And it's not just Dan Lanning. I know that Manning Passing Academy has something to do with it. When I saw Dylan's name on the list, that could be how he even got in there. It said Cam Ward is not better than Shedeur. No, he's not. He's not. Shedeur was the number 1 coming out of college. Facts, for sure. Hey, Miss Pamela. Did any black QBs go to the academy? Lenore Sellers is on the list for this year, for 25. I don't think so. I'm thinking of the names. I don't think so. Hold on one second. Let's see. I think Pat Mahomes was a counselor. Manning, okay, roster. Manning Passing Academy attendees. Yeah, I don't think so. All right, let's see. Some of the people. Now, y'all can tell me who's who because I don't know all of these people. It's scheduled to take place June 26th through the 29th. Academy will include instruction for high school players entering 8th grade through seniors, both boys and girls. It says several prominent quarterbacks, such as Arch Manning of Texas, Mateer, will also be present. So this is really pretty big deal. And I saw a video of them working out, and they was talking about who was there, and it was a lot of SEC quarterbacks. So it seems like if you get into this, it says it right here. Arch Manning, Cade Klubnik, Drew Allar, more to attend 2025. I think Lenore Sellers is on that list too. I think that's your top 5, right? It said 2025 notable attendees: Arch Manning, John Mateer, Drew Allar, Luke Altemeyer, Avery Johnson. Avery Johnson. Oh, yeah. We played against them. Kansas State. Cade Klubnik, Sam Levitt, Garrett Nussmeier, Lenore Sellers. I know Lenore is black. Austin Simmons from Ole Miss. I think he might be black. And Ty Simpson from Alabama. So I think this is who's going to be there or who was there in 2025. So that's 2. And then when you go back the years 2024, I know it was what's his name? Lil Man. What is his name? Gabriel? Dylan Gabriel? I think he was 2024. Yeah, I think he was 2024. And like I said, they even have camp counselors. And I know that Pat Mahomes was on the list as a counselor. It said Manning Passing Academy, 11 SEC quarterbacks. This 2024. Glenn Powell, Will Howard, Arch Manning, Jackson Dart amongst participants. Here we go. Texas redshirt freshman is a counselor. It said SEC had 11 participants in 2024. Jackson Arnold, Oklahoma, Beck, Georgia, Brady Cook, Missouri, Dart, Ole Miss, Ewers, Texas, Arch Manning, Texas, Graham Mertz, Florida, Milroe, Alabama. He's black. Garrett Nussmeier, LSU, Drew Pine, Missouri, and Blake Sharpen of Mississippi State. Former Mississippi State Bulldog, Will Rogers, now at Washington, will be there. I mean, that just sound like, the big schools to me. And that's just SEC. Yep. And then they had last year in 2023, Donovan Smith from Houston, Daquan Finn, Baylor, Dylan Gabriel, Oregon, and Mason Garcia, Austin P. So in 2023, Dylan Gabriel went, and maybe that's what got him bumped up to the 2025 draft to the 3rd round. So that's that. And that sounds like a lot of people, don't it? That's a lot of names that you're gonna hear this year. So if that answers your questions. Heavy SEC, also other conferences. There you go. I mean, so there you go. You had Lenore Sellers, Jayla Milroe. Those are the 2. And I think there was one more person. Recruiting for Oregon, Dan Lanning would have been hurt if your starting QB went undrafted. Right. And that's what I meant by a favor for a friend. That's obviously what that is. Because how do you go from undrafted to the 3rd round? Right. Max say something is up. It said release 12 at no cost. The Browns didn't deserve 12. Right. And if he don't ball out for them or get the opportunity, because we know he going to ball out, then they didn't pay enough. It said, I can't stand to even hear him talk. Right. I agree. It said the writing is on the wall. My eyes don't lie. Facts. He's still talking about player development. You know what? And that is why. That is precisely why he did not give Shedeur any type of praise or acknowledgement for doing well. That's why he didn't do it. Because he first of all, he set him up. He set him up. He talked about a 3rd and 1 play. I'm like, why you don't want to talk about the 4th and 1 play? I want you to talk about the 4th and 1 play. Yeah, when this channel get big, I got questions. I got questions. It's make sure y'all hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Y'all have got me past 4,700. I think there were 400 of us in here today. So thank you so much for that. Thank you. Usually when I start reading emails, eating text messages or whatever, people drop off, especially when I start looking stuff up. But that's fine. It said the last preseason game will tell the story. Right. And if Shedeur don't play, do y'all feel like Shedeur need to play in the last game? Say yes, he should, or no, he shouldn't. Then I know what you're talking about. Yes, Rams, or no, Rams. I don't think he needs to play in the last game because he did his best and they didn't appreciate it. So go ahead on. You want to keep me at the back of the line, then I'm going to need you to go with Dylan, Flacco, and Pickett. That's what they should do. I don't think he needs to play. He has nothing to prove. Everybody says it. He looks like an NFL QB. And people, are saying there's lots to teach. That's what Stefanski said. Well, why don't you get to teaching then? He don't even teach him anything. He just put him out there to sink or swim. And when he swam, he clearly wasn't happy about it, which is why he didn't have anything favorable to say. Cleveland is a train wreck. Right. And you know what I kind of think too? I think, to be honest, I think Cleveland is where Shedeur cuts his teeth. You know what that is, right? when a baby comes into the teething, that's where you go through a lot of pain. It's like a transitional period before you get your first, teeth into becoming I guess more like a toddler, right? When you go from a baby to a toddler. In NFL, he's a baby. And this is learning in Cleveland, and it's going to show him so many things. He's seeing things that we don't get to see, like the relationships with people in the offices, how the media acts, how people are allowed to mistreat him, from the media that they have corrected, and to Stefanski, to the owner. So when he goes to his next team, he will have cut his teeth. He will be more grown, not mature as an individual, but NFL mature, meaning, oh, you know what the deal is now. Cleveland is that. See, Cleveland is a small market. Shedeur likely will end up in a big market. Just like I said, when they say Shedeur to LA, it's a bigger market, right? Even though, I showed y'all the chart, they don't have any. They don't have any black quarterbacks. And it seems like the NFL goes by the one drop rule. Remember the two players I told y'all who are mixed heritage, and it seemed like they're African American and bloodline, but they didn't grow up with the African American, I guess you could say, environment, culture, schools, friends, etc. Right? I think the NFL put them on those teams with those other black players, because if you think about the NFL, the whole plantation, Jim Crow, they go by the one drop rule. That's why they are over there. That's exactly what they're going by. They're like, we don't care, one drop, that's it, right? And a lot of people still use that. A lot of people still use it. They just don't say it out loud. It said, Jerry, please go get him. Yeah, that's one of those things. We're going to talk about it tonight. We get ready to wrap up here. So it's a complicated situation, because the way Shedeur is being treated, disrespected publicly, even though he's the best, not being acknowledged as such, and being disrespected as if he's worthless, right? We don't value you. That's how Michael Parsons is being treated in Dallas, right? By Jerry Jones, not by people that work for the organization, by Jerry Jones, because Jerry said that Micah shook his hand. Why is Jerry out here, the owner, trying to get a 23, 25-year-old to make a business deal? Now, they said Dallas is worth $12 billion, right? And I think based on what happened in the draft, you can no longer comfortably say, oh, Jerry wouldn't treat Shedeur like he treated Micah. That's the Cleveland Browns issue, or that could happen to somebody else, but not to Shedeur. See, you could say that once upon a time. You can't say that no more. You really can't. And it's almost like he ruined it. And with us having an opportunity to see what's happening with Micah, it's the same thing that's happening with Shedeur. Public disrespect and being devalued and told you're not worthy. So much so that Jerry Jones won't even talk to the man's agent. But people say Shedeur should get one, and maybe it'll help him, or he should have had one. Not if the owner don't want to talk to him. The owner / GM. And Andrew Berry can only do what Stefanski allows him. What Haslam allows him to do. Don't get it twisted. You're not racist against all black people. And you like this one right here. You know what that is. You know that that's a token. You know that they hiding behind his melanin to devalue black players and overpay white ones. You know this. So we're going to get out of here. We'll be back tonight. I still like the whole Dallas thing for Shedeur, but it's kind of like, we know what it is now. We see what's happening with Micah, and it's not right? I can say that, but somehow we still want Shedeur the hell out of Cleveland. So we willing to send him to Dallas and somehow believe that that's not going to happen to him. Now, we can be foolish for that, because again, you see what it is, right? You see what it is. So it's complicated, because I almost didn't want to bring it up, because I didn't want people to go, well, how the hell can you say Shedeur need to get the hell out of Cleveland? Shedeur need to get the hell out of Cleveland. And at the same time, look at how Mike is being treated. That's why I didn't really bring it up, because I was going to post there's still hope, for Shedeur, his next stop being Dallas, because I've been talking about this. Has Michael Parsons signed his contract, and then y'all know the whole thing with Joe Milton and Jerry being impressed, and now they're not impressed no more. And they took one step further to, say it looked like they're gonna part ways. And here's the thing: with the way they conduct business, they don't value Michael Parsons. They think they could go get them a 22, 23-year-old for less money. And they would be right. So people expecting ethics and kindness and respect from people that have been disrespectful forever, especially when it comes to Black people. We all know about Jerry Jones in the picture, right? Which is how we knew Coach Prime was not going to ever be a head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. That wasn't going to never happen. That was just leverage. And they just know each other. I think there's a Netflix documentary out called The Gambler and His Cowboys. And Coach Prime is one. I think that's what it's called. And Coach Prime is one of the Cowboys with the cowboy hat on, doing a documentary, about Jerry Jones and being, one of the players for the Dallas Cowboys. That's iconic. And I thought it was very interesting timing for that to be out now, when it seems that their relationship at some point was fractured or severed following the draft. I'm like, well, maybe Netflix is going to put them back together again. And I'm like, again, that's a step towards Shedeur getting there. And I believe that people want Shedeur traded. I believe that the sentiment is anywhere but Cleveland. And as on fire as Dallas seems to be with Micah, we still want to send Shedeur over there because it's better than Cleveland. And we somehow think it will be better. Right? So that's why they want to talk about it. But, trade Shedeur. But Cleveland is the clearest path to get to the front. So don't be surprised if he's still there. Don't be surprised if all 5 quarterbacks that are active are rotated. And this is a repeat of 2023. Right? So I'll see y'all tonight. At some point, I got to get the Colorado Buffaloes in here. And because they are doing well. They are doing well. We got a squad. Yes, we'll be watching the game live. But I just really want to acknowledge them because, Sincere Brown turning up, Track Hawk burning up the track, burning up the field. Juju doing well. Ponder doing well. Of course, Caden looking like the leader that's experienced out there. And the first game being in Folsom, I think Colorado gonna win. I mean, they are. Seton was run blocking all the way to the end zone for somebody. Looked like a running back. The running backs are way more aggressive. I don't know if y'all know, but I think Dallin Hayden got injured. So we might see more of Micah, Track Hawk, and number 36 and maybe number 20, 26, something like that, 26. So we're going to see more of the other guys. The question that was raised was, and maybe we'll talk about this tonight, will Colorado have a 2-quarterback system? Not a 5-quarterback system like Stefanski, but a 2-quarterback system with Juju and Caden. I think they need to throw Ponder in there. I'm just saying. So maybe we talk about that tonight. All right, y'all. So I'll see y'all later. Thank you so much for hanging out. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. And if you're returning, make sure you hit the like button on the way in or the way out. See y'all tonight, 10:35 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thanks for watching. That's What She Said. What She Said Sports. Thanks for watching What She Said Sports. All right. Almost 2 hours of talking. I'll catch y'all later. Thank you for watching What She Said Sports. Be sure to join our daily live stream and listen up to What She Said Sports on the go on Spotify. Thank you for watching What She Said Sports. Stay for another video.